Okay, so we need to set up PyCharm, and the first thing I want to go to is the website. So the website is python.engineeringu.com, python.engineeringu.com, and you can come here and the welcome page. You can be working on your turtle tutorial, but if you come in here and we're going to look at the Jedi Younglings, we're going to go to version control, the first chapter. And this first chapter is kind of confusing on version control. So we're going to go down through this. There's an initial setup that we're going to do in PyCharm that we don't have to do anymore after we finish all that up. And then we'll get into a workflow of how we're going to be downloading your files and uploading your files all for the whole year. So what we want to do is we want to go in the applications and we want to find PyCharm. And we're going to click on that and try to open that up. Once it starts to open up, come down here and right-click on it, and for options, put Keep in the Dock, because you're always going to want that to be there. We better come in here. There's a screen that's opening up here. And so the first thing you're going to see is complete the installation. And so just keep it on Do Not Import Settings and click OK. And then this policy is going to come up and scroll all the way to the bottom and click Accept. And then we're going to click Don't Send for the usage stuff. Okay, so here's some setting up some defaults. I will just click on the next, the UI themes. There's kind of a darkula, and then there's a light. I actually like the dark stuff, and you can do some more things with themes later, but make sure it's on the darkula. I think it's a little bit better and easier on your eyes when you're coding. We're going to go ahead and click and skip remaining and set defaults. Okay, so it's going to come up here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click Create a New Project. And so we're going to create one project for the entire year. It's going to be a folder on our desktop here, and then every time we download more repositories, we'll just put them into that same project folder. So what I want you to do is click on this little folder right here, and then I want you to click on the desktop, click Open, and then we can put a / and then we're going to put the title of a folder that we want to put on our desktop. So I'm going to call mine Python Jedi. Okay, no spaces in there. So that'll actually form a folder here when we get going. Click on this little arrow here for the project interpreter, and right now it's on a new environment using virtual environment. We don't want that. We want to click on existing interpreter, and then you need to click on the 3 dots over here on the right, click on system interpreter, and you'll see that we have Python 3.8. It's basically locating where our Python is, and click OK on that, and now we're all good. So we're going to click Create, and that made a Python Jedi folder over here on the right. PyCharm CE would like to access files in your desktop folder. We're going to click OK on that. This comes up with different tips, and it does it every time you open up PyCharm. I actually click that off because I don't want to see them all the time, so I'll click Close. If you like the tips, then you can keep doing the tips. Okay. All right. So got a couple things we need to do. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to PyCharm, and we're going to go to Preferences. And there's different things. There's Appearance. We're going to come down to Project Python Jedi, that one right there, and you're going to open that up. And then we're going to click Project Interpreter, and you'll see that we have the interpreter set up there. But one of the problems is that we needed to download Arcade to be able to use to make some of our games. And we need to make sure that that's actually, that package is, it doesn't come just right with Python. So it needs to be actually installed and added to the Python interpreter. So you're going to click plus, and then we're going to do a search here, and we're going to put in Arcade. We're going to find it there, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to come down here, and you want to click this box. It's going to be important to click this box, Install to User Site Packages Directory. So you're going to click on that little box right there, and you're going to click Install the package, and it's going to do this for a while. It's going to say installing, and I'll just let that run. You'll see over here that's Arcade Game Development Library. The author is Paul Vincent Craven. He's actually a professor down at Simpson College. And we used to use Pygame to make these kind of old school games. And there were things that were good about it, but there were some things that weren't very good about it. And he created an entire new module called Arcade that is a little bit better than Pygame. So we'll wait for that to install. There's a lot of other Arcade things here. We don't need to really worry about those right now. Okay, so package Arcade installed successfully, so that's good. So we can close this window. And then another thing we want to do is we want to go to version control, and we want to come down to GitHub, and we want to add our account to GitHub so that it can control our files and when we're downloading and uploading back to GitHub. So you're going to click Add an Account, and you're going to put in your username for your GitHub, and you're going to put in your password. Keep messing up. Log in. And hopefully you can remember your account. It's very important. And your account now will be associated with this. So that's good. We're going to click Apply on that. Okay, click Apply on that. And then we'll click OK. Okay, so now we have a Python Jedi thing here, folder. And what we're going to do next is we need to go and we're going to look at this chapter again. Ooh, now look at this. PyCharm C would like to receive keystrokes from any application. I'm just going to deny that because you can't. Don't think you can do that because you have to have your administrative access for that or something. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay. So on this version control page here, I'm going to come down here a little ways and we're going to look at this graphic here. So here's the graphic that tries to explain how all of this works. So over here we have a repository on my CSP UHS GitHub organization, and so that's an organization on GitHub, and I invited all of you to that, and you accepted that invitation. So you're a part of this organization. On that organization, I have a whole bunch of repositories, which basically starter code for this class. So what you'll always have to do at the beginning of each chapter is you need to fork those, which means you basically make a copy of it and you put it over on your repository account on GitHub. So it's still not on your computer. You just take a copy of it off my organization and you put it into your account. Then what you want to do is you want to clone, or what you normally would call download. So these, this would be copy, this would be download, but we have fancy terms on GitHub. So you're going to clone a copy of that forked repository down to your computer so you can actually do work on it. And when you're doing work on it, you can, there's a lot of things in PyCharm that I want to show you eventually how to do, where you can make branches on that particular file, and you can do some developing code, and then you can go back to your master branch and do some code, and you go back to your testing branch, and eventually you can actually merge your testing branch back into your master branch and continue on working, and you can, it's pretty crazy. So you can, every once in a while, it saves it automatically in PyCharm, but you can make commitments every once in a while that'll actually kind of be like a hard save, and that'll actually store a little information about where you are on that. And the good thing about doing that is you can always go back and revert back to any one of those commitments at any time in the future and start over from that particular point if you would like. So eventually you're going to get your program all done, and what you want to do then is you want to push that back out to your GitHub account. That's called a push. You're going to push it out to your GitHub account. And once you're there, you might say, well, now I want to push it back over to Mr. Herman on his organization. Well, you can't do that because that would overwrite my code that I have originally that you forked. So what you can do though is you can click a new pull request button, and that requests me to then pull your code back into my organization. So generally, we're not going to we're only going to work on like a file altogether. We're going to do that twice. There's a game later on that we're going to use called Prisoner's Dilemma, and we're going to try that. And we're going to do it also at the beginning right here. We're going to all work on the same code. I'm going to give you all 10 lines of code on the same file. So you're all going to fork it. You're going to clone it down to your computer. You're going to work on those 10 lines. You're going to push it back to your repository on your account. And then you're going to put in a pull request and want me to pull in the code into that file that we're all working on. And when you do the pull request, if you have overwritten lines that are actually already in my code, it'll tell you that there's conflicts and that you can't do it. So I would have to resolve those conflicts before I could pull your code in. If it's okay and you're not going to overwrite anything important on the file, then it'll say that there are no conflicts and that the code can be pulled in. So that's kind of how the whole workflow works. Generally, you're going to do this all year, everything except for when you click new pull request. I will never be pulling it in because I don't want to overwrite the template of code that I have for everybody in my classes. So, but you're still doing pull request because that will allow me to know that you have something that you want me to look at, and I can still look at it and check it off if you did it all correctly. So this is how this whole kind of process works. And so the beginning of each chapter, you need to create a fork of the repository for that chapter. You do not have to go out and find my organization. You could, if you went to your account, this organization, there should be a link to this organization on your account, and you can click on it. But really what I do at the beginning of every chapter, up at the top of the chapter, I have a link directly to that organization and the repository that I want you to fork. So what you can do is you can click on this, Chapter 1 version control. That's going to take you out to, and you'll notice that you're on CSPUHS, and you're in this repository. So you need to fork a copy of this, because if you look down here, there's basically 4 files in this repository. There's a Jedi training activity, a GitHub VCS activity, and their tutorial activity. And there's a README file in here, and so here it tells you everything that we're going to be doing in this particular chapter and all the 3 assignments that you have to work on. So the first thing we want to do is fork this over to our account on GitHub. That's pretty easy. It's right here, fork. So you're going to click fork, and we haven't been logged in, so we're going to have to log in again real quick. Okay, and now that I'm logged in, now I have to click fork again. And it says, where should we fork Chapter 1 version control? Well, you'll only have one option, basically your account, right? So if I hover over it, it says, will be created as Herman M Chapter 1 version control. Instead of CSPUHS version, it'll be on my account. So I'm not downloading this to my computer right now. I am forking it over to my account. So I'm going to click that. And there it goes, forking CSPUHS. Has a fork in it. Basically you're taking a fork and you're stabbing a big piece of steak on my organization, and you're taking it over and putting it on your plate at your repository. Now, if you look, there's very subtle difference. It looks like we're exactly on the same page, but if you look up here, we're not. We're at Herman M. We're on your account right now, and so that means you've forked it, and there's 48 forks of this particular thing now. Okay, so that's how you fork something, and now what we want to do is we want to download it to our computer so that we can use it. That's called cloning. That's called cloning. Okay, and this is a part where we're probably going to run into a little trouble because I'm making this video because we had some issues on some of the computers throughout this process. There would be a little thing that would pop up that says, do you want to download like command tools? And if that came up when you were going through this video, then you need to say yes, and you need to install those. If it doesn't come up, then we need to make that thing come up so that we can install them, because it's going to be important. We won't be able to clone unless we have those installed. And so far, my little thing hasn't popped up yet, so that's not going to be good because I'm going to actually have to restart the computer and then go on and do more of the video, I think. Probably, I think I will have to. Okay, so we're going to go here's how we clone. So you go into PyCharm, you go to VCS, and you click Checkout from version control. And there's different version control systems here. We're using Git, and that's why we call it GitHub, because that's where a hub where all the Git repositories are. So we're going to click Git, and so we have clone repository. So if you look in the URL, there's a whole bunch of URLs. These are all URLs for see, a lot of them are actually on my organization because I'm logged in, so you won't see all these things. But then you'll see all the Git things from your actual repository too. You should probably see only 2 of those. One of them says Prisoner's Dilemma. That's a private repository, but since you're on my team, you're in my organization, you see that automatically. You should also see the one that you just forked. You should have just forked a chapter 1 version. So it's something like this, github.com and your username, and then it says chapter 1 version.control.git. So you're going to click on that, and then we're going to click a directory. Where do we want this to go? So we want to go on the desktop in our Python Jedi folder. So I'm going to click that and click open. And then we want to actually, there's 4 files in there. We want to download or clone. We're cloning them. I should use the correct term. Cloning them into our a project folder on our desktop. So I want to actually make another folder inside that Python Jedi. So I'm going to do another / and I'm going to do something pretty obvious, chapter 01. So that's where I'm going to, this is the link out to that GitHub, and this is going to put it in that particular directory. And here's the moment of truth to see if this works or not. I'm going to click clone. And see, I get an error, cannot run Git. Okay, xcrun error, invalid active developer path. So if you had something that popped up that said, install command tools or command line tools or something, that's great, and you should have done that. And this thing would have just now cloned down to your desktop, and in your Python Jedi, you would open it up and you would see, I see chapter 1, but it didn't actually put the files in there. So that's not good. So I need them to be in there. So this didn't work for me, and because that thing never popped up. Okay, so if it did pop up, you're good to go. You have all those files in there, and you can click on them and you can look at some stuff. So if it didn't pop up, here's what we're going to do. You're going to click on the terminal. You're going to come down here, and you're going to type in some certain code. And that code is going to be, I'm going to type in xcode, and then I'm going to type in a dash select, and then a space dash install. Xcode dash select space dash install. So if I click that, it says note, install requested for command line developer tools. Okay, and here it comes up. The Xcode select command requires command line developer tools. Would you like to install the tools now? And we're going to click install. And then there's some agreement stuff. I'm going to click agree. And this is going to download some software, and it might take a little while, but we're going to let that go. Okay. So originally I thought, well, once we get this done, it'll work. The problem is that once we've installed this, we actually have to shut the computer down and reboot it and go on from there. So I'm going to have to actually stop this video for just a moment while I restart the computer, and then I will come back on with the rest of the video and show you where we're going to go from there, because this is going to take a little while to do this. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, I haven't actually started the computer. I wanted to see if I could just close PyCharm and reboot PyCharm and see if that would be enough. So we're going to try that experiment first. So I go to VCS, check out from version control. I click Git. And here I try to find my Git chapter 1 on my Herman 1 repository. There it is. Click on, well, this is already okay, but I want to call it chapter 1. And I click clone. And it worked. So I guess you don't have to shut down the computer. All you got to do is close out of PyCharm and restart PyCharm. Glad I did that little test. So check out from version control. Would you like to open the directory? And I'm going to say yes. And then how would you like to open the project, in a new window or open in the current window over here? And you can also add to currently open projects. So I have Python Jedi opened right now, and I like to just add that in there. So I have everything over here all together. So I click OK. And then if I click on Python Jedi, you'll see chapter 1, and look at all that. I have a lot of stuff there. Okay, so I'm going to open up one of these files just to show how we can do this. So I'm going to open up the tutorial.py. I click on that, and this is going to come up. So it's going to say add files to Git. So I have this whole folder, Python Jedi chapter 1, 3 files. That's all checked, and we want to add this to Git because we need to have Git track all of these files, everything that we're doing. You can always right click on one of these files and add to Git. I'm gonna just say remember what I do here, okay, and don't ask again. So you can leave that unclicked if you want, and just every time it comes up, it's going to say, do you want to add these to Git? But you're going to want to do that every time. So I just say remember, don't ask again. So I click OK, and it adds it to Git. Let's see, if you right click on one of these and you come down to Git, normally there'd be like a add to, yeah, so it'd be plus add. In case you ever need to do that, you'll just right click on it, go to Git, and click add. But so this has already been added to Git, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so here is a, let me try to do something here. PyCharm, preferences, editor, font. Let's make it like 20. How about 18? All right, it's going to be bigger so you can maybe see it here. Okay, there we go. So it's a little bigger. So this is a, and I can move these windows down and around a little bit. So this is a the tutorial that you've hopefully been working on. It says modify the starter code below to create your own cool drawing, and then pull request it to your instructor. Make sure you keep the last 2 lines of code. Your first and last name must be written on your art. The last line keeps the window open until you click to close. Here's a link to the turtle documentation if you want to do a lot more stuff than what it has here. But I've written comments behind what all these little things do. And there's 2 lines of code down here that it signs your name. So instead of sign your name here, you would want to put in like, your name. And this last line doesn't exit unless you click the window, and then that'll stop it. So so I can run this, and the way I would want to run it, first of all, is I'm going to right-click right on this screen. I'm going to click Run 1.2 Tutorial, and there it goes. It opens up a window, and it does all this, and marks it. It's basically I made Yoda. It's really, really cool. If I click on it, it's going to close it. Okay, so you can put all your tutorial code in here. And we'll show you how to do some other things later. So I'm going to have another video here where I'm going to step you through how you commit things and how you push things back out to your repository, and how eventually you'll pull request something in. So all that I'll try to do in another video. I'll probably put it out there, but it's something that might be good for us to do in class. But I wanted to at least get that part all done. So we'll see where we go from there.